Moving on to Chapter 8, measuring figures. Okay, we'll start out with circumference, page 613. Some terms that you need to know: a circle, and then we have a center of the circle. The circumference is the distance around the circle. You might say like the perimeter of the circle. It's how far it is around the outside of the circle. The diameter is the measurement through the circle, through the center, across from side to side. And the radius is halfway from the center. It's from the center to the edge of the circle. So fill in the box with the following terms: center, diameter, and radius. Go ahead and do that quick. Pause if you need to. Okay, there I put the terms on the chart for you. Then move down to number 1. This table shows the measurements of 2 hula hoops, the child size and the adult size. Describe the relationship between the diameter and the radius of each hula hoop. So the diameter and the radius of the child's, and then look at the adults, and what do you notice? It's double, right? The diameter is double. The radius. Okay? Then letter B. Describe the relationship between the circumference and the diameter. So the circumference is 88 compared to 28. And we have 126 and 40. And what do you notice there? It's about 3 times. It's close to 3 times. Little over. The circumference is a little over 3 times the diameter. Okay, moving on to page 614. Okay, so a couple of formulas to write down, simple formulas. So just know that the distance is twice the radius. Take the radius times 2, you get the diameter, or diameter, not distance, the diameter. Or to find the radius, you take the diameter divided by 2. So number 1, the diameter of the circle is 14. What's the radius? Diameter is 14, you divide by 2, the radius is 7. Okay, so far so good. Number 2, if the radius is 8 feet, what is the diameter? Take 8 times 2 and you get 16. So go ahead and do A, B, C, and D. Pause the video. Okay, for number 1, or letter A, the radius should be 11.5. B, the diameter is 6. Letter C, the radius is 8. And letter D, the diameter is 10.4. Okay, next page. The circumference of the circle is pi times the diameter. Or you can say 2 R's, 2 radiuses. That's the same thing as the D, okay? So it's approximately 3. We're going to use 3.14 for pi. If you're going to use a fraction, that 3.14 is very, very close to 22 over 7. So it depends what your fraction is, if you want to use 22 over 7 or if you want to use 3.14. Okay, find the circumference of the circle if the radius is 21. So if the radius is 21, you have to double it. So they took, let me find my pen tool. So they're going to double that. So they're going to take 2 times their 22. But first they simplified. They used 22 over 7 for pi. So it's 2 times the diameter, and then take that times your pi. Simplify. 22 over 7 is 3 over 1. So you take 2 times 22, you get 44. 44 times 3 is 132. And also notice this squiggly little equal sign here. That means approximately. always, when you're dealing with circumference, an area of circles, it's going to be approximately, unless you're using the pi button on the calculator, which we are not going to do. So use the approximately sign. Okay, find the circumference of each circle. And you know what? If you want to use 22/7, that is fine. It'll work easy with these two numbers because 70 and 7/8, the 7 and the 7, they're going to cancel out. So that's why it's easy to use 22/7 with these. You also can use 3.14 if you want, but your answer, if you use 3.14, will be just a little bit different. So go ahead and do those two. Okay, on the first one, we have 22/7, which is your pi. Pi times the diameter. You already have the diameter. 70 is the diameter. So 22/7 times 70. Simplify before you multiply. 22 times 10, 220. And circumference is just labeled inches, okay? Inches, feet, miles, whatever. So 220 inches for letter E. For letter F, you are given the radius, not the diameter. So you have to double this radius, okay? So instead of 7/8, I wrote down 14/8 because I had to double it. Okay, so 22/7 times 14/8. What is 14/7? 2. So now we have 22/8, or we have 22 times 2/8. So I now can simplify. 2/8 is what? 1/4. So my answer is 22/4. What is 22/4? Equals 5 1/2 feet for letter F. Okay? If you used 3.14, I'm going to grab my calculator because I couldn't see. It's easy to use 22/7 for these because I didn't even need a calculator. Now if I'm going to use 3.14, I'm going to either do it on paper or I'm going to get my calculator and do it. Why can't I change my page? There we go. Okay, so for letter E, if I took 3.14 times 70, I got 219.8. So real close to our 220. That's why we always use the approximate sign, approximately. Okay, 3.14 times 14 divided by 8 is 5.495, and we said our answer was 5 1/2. So very close. Okay, moving on, page 616. Big Ben is a famous clock tower. The diameter of the clock is about 23 feet, or it is 23 feet. Find the circumference. So you have to take 3.14 times 23. And approximately 72.2. It says round to the nearest tenth. Make sure you're reading those directions, your rounding signs, your rounding directions. So round to the nearest tenth, okay? A circular fence is being placed to surround a tree. The diameter of the fence is 4. How much fencing is used? So there's your circumference. Use 3.14 for pi and round to the nearest tenth. Pause the video to do that one. I'm going to do it as well. If you want to use a calculator, use a calculator, that's fine, but don't use the pi button. They tell you to use 3.14, so we all have the same answer. Okay, you can do it longhand on paper too. You don't have to use a calculator, but if you want to, I don't mind. Okay, if you did it with the calculator or if you did it by hand, either way, you should get 12.56, and round to the nearest tenth would round to 12.6. Why is my let me try this. 12, there it comes, 12.6. So that should be your answer, 12.6. And what are they? Feet, 12.6 feet. Okay, guided practice. Find the radius or the diameter for number 1, 2, 3. And number 4, the directions say find the circumference, use 3.14 or 22/7. So just looking at number 4 and 5, which one would you use 22/7 for? I would use 22/7 for number 5 because it is 7 yards. So you know that the diameter is going to be a multiple of 7. Use 3.14 for number 4. Pause the video and do those. Okay, the number 1, diameter is 3, the radius is half that, 1.5. Number 2, if the radius is 14, the diameter is twice that, it would be 28 feet. Number 3, if the diameter is 20, the radius would be 10. Number 4, 3.14 times 15 is 47.1. It says round to the nearest tenth. It already was in the nearest tenths. Number 5, if I have, let me make them into fractions, okay, 22/7, and I doubled the 7, okay, I doubled the 7 because we need the diameter. Cancel out, let's go here, 7, 14, what's 14 over 7? 2 over 1, so what's 22 times 2? 44, and what are they? Yards. 44 yards. Okay. So page 617 should be able to do that page. And that's the lesson for 8-1.